Welcome, everyone. Formula Access. I promised you guys that I would be bringing Formula One to your doorstep. Today, I have Guillaume. Guillaume is with Alpine F1, and we're excited to have you, man. Thank you for coming and just kind of giving everybody a snapshot of what you do.
Hey Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man.
I like the background. I like the background. This is pretty original. Like I've never seen that before. So
this is your race,
pretty
man.
good.
This is Alpine's day.
Yeah.
I'll cover that, but yeah, this is
Esteban winning. Like that was great. You know, it's our first win since we came back in Formula One as Alpine and also as Renault. Back in 2015 or 2016, and that was the comeback of Renault, and that's the first win, and was followed by a beautiful podium of Fernando last year. So it was good.
You know what I found most amazing about that race is the teamwork. You know, a lot.
Yes,
a lot. I mean, I love Alonso. I love the guy, but like that's the first time that you really saw him like operate in the team. Like it was beautiful the way that he supported his teammate and gave Esteban the opportunity to take that win. Well deserved by all measures, but you know, it was definitely
he's a great team player. Like he's a great guy. Always like, you know, focus on the team, not only on himself. And that's a rare quality in drivers in Formula One.
This like version 2 is even more impressive to me than, you know, all of the years that he spent at Ferrari and whatnot. I've really enjoyed that time. And I've actually, honestly, like I've really enjoyed, you know, Esteban getting into Alpine and finding a home, a long-term home where he can really just showcase his skill set. It's really cool what you guys are doing. I think you guys got a great team. I think, you know, everything you got going is something special and something special ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's not only me. You know, there's 1,250 people, you know, working on the car. There's the people that you can see at the racetracks that are, you know, between 80 and 100 people. But there's so many people that work, you know, their day-to-day lives at the factory. We got 2 factories, one in Paris, in south of Paris, which make, you know, the engine, the 1.6 liter hybrid engine of the Formula One car. And then we have like the factory where I'm based, which is next to Oxford, just an hour from London, in Enstone. And we have like, I think it's around 800 people over there, working from design to manufacturing to engineering. Everything that's not related to the engine is based over there. So there's a lot of people, not only the drivers, but a lot of people that are working insane hours to make it work.
Amazing. And don't sell yourself short. You're in sponsorships, and we'll get into that. That's an important part of driving the mission forward. Those logos are meaningful to all of those people that support the team. And I honestly, I think, you know, that's always been my desire for this channel, is to really showcase the hundreds and thousands of people that get that car to the grid and get it across the finish line. Because, you know, Drive to Survive, you know, the television broadcast really focus on the team principal and the driver, and to some degree the pit crew. But, you know, there are people like you every single day, you know, out grinding it out because it's your passion, and because, you know, from a professional perspective, you're at the pinnacle of motorsport. I mean, you work for one of 10 teams in the world, operating at the highest levels, moving at the fastest speeds. It's incredible. And I think that's what the audience is always looking for, is like, how do I get to what Guillaume is doing? How do I get to that level? Because it's so big and enormous that it's almost off-putting. I mean, as terrible as it sounds, like, how hard is it for somebody to approach a beautiful woman because it's intimidating. And I think Formula One is so intimidating to so many people. And, you know, and I was interviewing another guest yesterday, and, you know, it was, he got into Formula One because he responded to a social post to a leader with inside a Formula One team. And he was impressed by that and reached out to him, and he got a job for Williams, you know. And it's like, I love the story. So with that, explain to the audience, you know, what do you do, and, you know, what do you do
Yep.
for Alpine?
Look, I do multiple things, but my main role, as you said, is to find sponsor for the team. So what we call hunting. So finding new sponsors for the Formula One team. That means to reach out to C-level executives in big companies and exploring how I can help them to become an F1 partner. And there's many layers to it. It's not just the logo on the car. We have, because the competition and the Formula One is so technical in many different aspects. We're talking about design, we're talking about engineering, but we're talking also about logistics. Next year we're racing in 24 different locations all over the world, and one week you're racing in Las Vegas, and the week after you have to be in Abu Dhabi with all your equipment. And we're not talking just about the car that goes like on plane or something like this. We're talking about spare parts. We're talking about people, because it's the logistics behind it is insane. But what you can see in Formula One is that every department is at the pinnacle of technology. We have like additive manufacturing. We're in business doing sponsorship. You have like race strategy, in engineering, like data science. Everything is at the top of the top and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And so that's what's exciting with the sport. So, but to come back to your question, I do sponsorship, so partnership, and develop that. So reaching out to companies that are interested into, talking to a new audience through Formula One. The second part is more geeky, so you would understand why I have like a kind of like gamer headset, a gamer chair, and those things. So I look after esports for Alpine, and we compete in the F1 Esports Championship, against all the other Formula One teams. So it's managing these day-to-day things. We have our own sponsors. We're doing many things from, professional drivers in simulators to putting these drivers into real cars to see like how they can perform with that as well. So that's the second aspect. And third aspect is blockchain and Web3. This is something that is brand new for a lot of like companies, and F1 and Alpine, so an automaker and a Formula One team cannot be too far from that as well. So these are like the three main things that I more or less manage and lead for Alpine.
That's fascinating that you cover so much territory inside a single team. Yeah, it's not.
I don't do it just myself. Like I got people to help me with it. I got a team of people helping me with that. But yeah, you have to be dedicated, and you have to strongly believe on the the project of the brand, but also like your team. And it's a very exhausting job, but it's very rewarding in many ways. So completely different to a 9 to 5 kind of job in a basic company, which has its perk also. But like here, you're part of a team and you're fighting for the win, and it's quite a different thing and ambience. Yeah.
So anyone listening that is interested in just what this part of Formula One looks like. So Guillaume, when I send out a request for this type of interaction, I'm not sending thousands of them out. I'm actually looking at roles of interest as well as just kind of engagement. And I will say anybody with a LinkedIn profile has got to follow you, because you do such an unbelievable job of marketing. So we also have a family business in marketing, and my wife runs that company. And so to spot somebody that understands the way that marketing works, which is a component of what you do for Alpine, it stands out, and it makes it really easy for a fan or just a kind of a partner to understand the value that you bring to, to a sponsor. Is like, here's who we're bringing on, and this is what that partnership entails, whether it's a sponsorship of like technology or logos or hospitality or whatever those things are. I do want to get into that stuff, but it's important that you showcase it, because it's a scalable method of your job. You can go knock on doors and hunt, which is what I've done my whole career. I get you.
Yeah.
And also just allowing a network of people to be like, you know what, I saw this thing that you posted, and I think that's something that we need, and almost creating the reverse effect of hunting, which is like, all of a sudden the animal comes to you instead of you like hunting it down. And I think that it's valuable, because it's a really misunderstood value proposition for companies. I run a company. I understand, when somebody comes to me and asks me to write a check for a sponsorship or some sort of marketing widget, and it's really valuable. And I've seen that firsthand. I've been in hospitality, and it's not about my logo on the car as much as it is, I actually can derive revenue to my business in a multiple of what I have written this team. So if I want to put my logo on your car, and you please get into this, but there's so much more value derived from it than, I'm trying to think of like Shell, I don't buy Shell fuel because I see it on a Shell car, but Shell derives an enormous value from having their logo and the partnerships that they create with inside of Formula One or whatever team that is that they're associated with, is way more valuable than a fan seeing it on a car and going to buy, $20 worth of gasoline. It's so much more than that. So like, tell me, and I do want to backtrack a little bit, but like, what's your origin story? Like, how did you end up with Alpine in this role?
So it started a while ago. I was so I'm not that old, as you probably can see, I hope. I'm 28 years old. Everything started in 1997 when I was a baby. Sorry for the people that are listening and that are a bit older than that. But in 1997, I was 3 years old, and my parents left me on the sofa in front of the TV after like I was watching some kind of anime or something like this, and they didn't hear me for 2 hours. And the reason why was because F1 was starting just after that show, and they were surprised how silent I was after 2 hours. And so that's where the passion started. And back in the days, it was Jacques Villeneuve versus Michael Schumacher. For the fight and for the win. I think Jacques was driving for Benetton Williams, and Michael was driving for Ferrari. And that's how I got into it. I was so crazy about it that I was like unsticking video cassette numbers to put them on my little F1 cars. So it started like this, just being a fan of the sport. Then I followed like Fernando Alonso when he won, his world titles in 2005 and 2006, and then got older. But I didn't have any money to go karting, and I was an absolute no-go for my, parents. They saw how much it cost, to go and race. So, but so I started to see, what can I do in life that helped me to live my passion as well as being excited by my work. And so I started to study business and international marketing. And so I did a master's degree in international business in France, and then got to do a couple of like motorsports activities. So I didn't go from, studies to F1 directly. How, we talked about like that's inachievable kind of like goal or like something like this. You need to, it's a small industry in the end. And so what I started to do is to do a lot of volunteering into motorsport like races. I started with something that is called the 24-hour series. So I was volunteering for them. They do basically endurance races for GT4 cars, GT3 cars, sorry. So it's basically very rich people that want to drive like very powerful cars on weekends and race for 24 hours or 12 hours. And that was super cool. I was organizing trophies, ceremonies, podiums, helping with logistics, bringing pizza to people, helping them register. This kind of like job, but you get like to fly for free to these amazing locations, see amazing cars. You don't get paid, but yeah, you're a student. You just love these things. So I've done that. Then I've done like a couple of internship at Renault. So Renault was organizing European competitions of racing with one seater, Formula 2 kind of cars. And GT3 cars as well. So I was helping organizing all these championship as well. I worked as well on project for schools with like companies that used to produce cars in Formula One, like Ligier, for instance, and they still produce LMP2 cars. And so work with them on a project to launch a new like racing car as well. So it's how you put yourself into that kind of automotive environment and with people that share the same passion. So one person then have a contact and you build your own network through it. So that's what I did. On top, I had like my own society at school with all people that were passionate about automotive, road safety, motorsport. So we would organize karting events, have discount driving license training for students. So it was like all a big project, and it's still running on year. They got like 40 active members now that they do that for students of the region. But so I'm starting doing this, and at some point, through that network of like people, one of my friend who was like the same student in the society, like told me like, I know you're looking for an internship. I know you love Formula One. There's this guy who tweeted something. He's looking for an intern. And that guy used to be the sponsorship director of like the biggest soccer team in France. Mm-hmm. He had recently moved to Renault F20. It was back at the end of 2016. And so I answered his tweet and messaged him and say like, I would love to join you and help building sponsorship in that team. And, to which he said like, let's have an interview. And so that's how it started. And then I joined the team as an intern, and they then sent me to the UK side. And that's how I grew up with the team. Yeah. It's been 5 years now.
So this started from a tweet. Like
this started from a tweet as well.
See, that's
I had previous experience as well in
Renault
Sport, but it started from a tweet. Yeah.
But the opportunity was created because you threw yourself out there on Twitter. Like my entry into this world was throwing myself out there on Quora. The gentleman from Williams that I just spoke to did it, I think from LinkedIn. So yeah, I think it's a true testament of hope to young people trying to get into the motorsport end of it. And I'm actually really excited to have you here because you're more on the business end of it. Because there's a lot of fascination with engineering, and and some engineers can make as much as the drivers, but I think from the business end, I am more fascinated with what you do inside of the motorsport than kind of anyone else. So, kind of get into that. So you're in charge of sponsorship. So all the logos that we see here, obviously on a different car, you're responsible for finding them and bringing them to the team. How do you do that?
So basically, as a Formula One team, we got like 3 main level of income. First one is the TV rights. As a broadcaster, you pay F1 to get the right to broadcast the championship, and that gets divided between the team and F1, and depending on how performant you are on the championship, you get that income. So that's millions of dollars that gets back to the team. Then you have like merchandising, licensing, but that won't be like a massive income. We're talking about a couple of millions still. And then you have sponsorship, and sponsorship is a massive part for Formula One teams. The higher you are in the grid, the more valuable your logo on the car is. It's just basic. Like if you were Mercedes last year with Red Bull, you will get like a lot more like share of visibility. So your sponsor on your car have a bigger exposure than if you are at the bottom of the grid. So that's how it works, and most likely the teams that are performing the most can sell their sponsorship for more money because they have more fans, they have more fans of their drivers, and that's how it works. It's the two types of sponsorship. We prefer to call it partnership because I would say there's three types actually. We manufacture cars, like we have like 1,200 employees just to create 2 cars a year for 2 customers that are the drivers. It's when you think about it, it's insane. And we have like massive factories for that, and we're using a lot of machining. There's an incredible process of like creating parts quickly, because if the quicker you are in designing parts and then producing the parts, the quicker you are in having new parts on the car. The car is not coming to the race with just one outside of the truck and up. Let's push a button and the engine starts. It's way more complicated than that. Formula One cars is around 25,000 different parts that change all over the year. So the Formula One car that starts the season is completely different than the Formula One car that finished the season. So it's plenty of different parts, and we manufacture most of these parts ourselves. So we need to find technical partners that help us to develop, our expertise in logistics, our expertise in like carbon fiber production, our expertise in cutting titanium parts and metal parts. So we need the machining. So some sponsor will just like be technical. So come in and say like, look, I will give you like this amount of machines that are worth like 2 million a year to run, and I will do it for free for you. And in exchange, I want my logo on the car. I want some hospitality to the races. I want to be able to associate my brand to your team. And that's what we call technical partners. Do you have technical partners that will bring experts of their in their industry to advise us on better manage our data, for instance? Because you have 300 sensors on Formula One car, and that sends data from the racetrack directly to our factories, and in the factories we have something that we call the ops room, and it's like the NASA room. If you watch like a big sci-fi like movie, you have like all these guys with headset intercoms like talking, following graphs. We have the same in Formula One. We have like around 45 to 60 engineers live. So when we watch your screen on TV, you have like 60 engineers analyzing the data, and they look more at the data because the data is quicker to go from the sensor of the car to the Formula One factory than the TV and what you see on TV. So it's insane. And so the amount of data that we get, for instance, we get like 2 million gigabytes of data flooding into us, and how we need like expertise, like expert company to help us like to manage our data and get the right data at the right time in front of us to take the right decisions in seconds. Because when something happens on tracks, in the next minute you need to pit the car and have like 20 guys and women like going out of the pits and change 4 tires very quickly. So we have like these like kind of technical partners that can be softwares, that can be like anything, and sometimes collaboration between the two companies. We work with Boeing, for instance, using our wind tunnel. Formula One teams are using wind tunnel, so it's massive turbines that blow air on the car, And so we're scanning the particles, how the particles of air move on the Formula One cars, and that gives us an idea of how the car would behave on the racetrack. And so because we can only use this a certain number of hours per week because of the F1 regulation, we're using this to help, like, companies like Boeing to design their aircraft and help them to develop, better solutions. And it goes the same with electric cars. People are having the debate between Formula E and Formula One. The Formula One is developing way more solutions for electric cars of tomorrow than Formula E, simply by the aerodynamism. So as Alpine, we produce cars, and we're going to EV, and so we put these road cars on our wind tunnel with our expertise of Formula One, and we can find ways to have our road cars using less electrical energy, because of the aerodynamism of the car. And so this is, I'm getting like onto too much detail at the moment, but the main thing is, like, Formula One is cutting edge technology. We focus on basically building very fast cars, racing cars, but our expertise is in racing cars. So we need companies to help us with their expertise and their technology. So these are like the technical partners. Then we have like sponsors, and these are like brands that could be doing both. But it's another category. So there are sponsors that are looking to tap into US markets, European markets, that are the biggest audiences in Formula One, and they're probably like a brand from Asia, and they want to tap into a new market. So they will like put their logo on a Formula One car, want to advertise with the drivers, they want to do specific ads, they want to do social media, and we can help them with this. And so it's not just a logo on the car; they get like a huge panel of tools and experiences that they can use on top of like a logo on the car, and that will help them to tap into these new markets. Then you have like what we call more like B2B companies, that they don't do much B2C, but they know that people that watch Formula One tends to be having higher income, tends to have like decision-making roles, and they want to use F1 as something that brings a value into what they're doing. So mostly technological companies or advising companies, like all these kind of like companies have seeing values in F1. That is cutting edge technology, innovation, teamwork, like all of these values like match with theirs. And so they want to use F1, one, because it's matching their values, but also to use for all the experience and hospitality that they can use after that. Say, inviting CEOs of their customers, company to the racetrack, and having the time to do business while having a nice moment watching very, very fast cars on track.
So it's interesting that you say that. So, we were talking before the show. I went to the St. Pete Grand Prix. I got to spend some time in Andretti hospitality, and I had dinner with a young driver the night before, and I kind of asked him the same question, because at the lower tier you have to go find all your own sponsors to support your career.
Exactly.
And so he said something really interesting about the B2B value of hospitality. And he was saying, I get all these business leaders into hospitality, and then they just start exchanging business cards. And I was like, maybe, like, yeah, if I go to a race, I'm going there to have fun and enjoy myself and something I'm passionate about. And okay. Well, the next day I was in hospitality, and, I was sitting in lunch, and everybody at the table is like, what do you do? What do you do? And people start handing each other business cards. And like, my wife was with me, so she's getting business cards and handing out business cards, and she got customers from that. And I was just
exactly.
I was just sitting back in the chair going, aha, I got it.
I get it now. Yeah.
Okay. This changes the game for me. Okay. I totally understand now. And it actually got my wheels spinning of just the value of being in an environment of like-minded people that run business and, and have needs. Again, my wife has a marketing agency. Everybody needs marketing. So, especially one that drives actual value. But in your sense too, getting all those people in hospitality, is a really, really valuable thing that, at the end of the day, closes deals, it solidifies relationships, and it drives revenue. And I think if more businesses, especially here stateside, understood that, I think the value of what you guys do would increase dramatically if they understood, if they could have that moment that I had at that hospitality. So I do think that that's really valuable. But like, what, you don't just give them a place to sit and have lunch and chit chat, but like, what other sorts of like hospitality do you guys provide a partner?
So we got different type of hospitality. So in Formula One, you see like there are grandstands hospitality that's more like to use for internal communications. Reward your employees the best. Selling. Business people in your company. So you give them general access with access to grandstand, and that's something that we can give into our partnership contracts. Then we have like on your screen, for instance, like when you pit, you have just above like that, you have what we call the paddock club. So that's the most like kind of VIP hospitality at a racetrack. You're just above the garage of your team, and every team has like a private suite with all their partners in there. So you're looking at 100 to 250 people per weekend, per day. Sorry, because it's Friday to Sunday, and there you have all your partners that invite their guests, that's likely to be C-level executives, and we can organize, private suite meetings. So we tend to introduce our partners to each other and end up doing business to each other, because like, oh, what do you do with Alpine F20? Oh, I do lubricants actually, and we also do like plenty of like fuel and all the projects, and we could do business together. Okay, let's do business together, and that's how it works as well. So we do that. We do partner events as well. But then to come back to the hospitality side, we also have the paddock. Paddock is where the drivers are, where the motorhomes of the teams are, and that's something that you cannot sell basically, and only you have to be a partner of the team to access it. So but then you have lunch with drivers, you have lunch just next to the team principal. You're basically a member of the team, and that's where you can meet with our group CEO, Group Renault, for instance. Group Renault is part of the alliance Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi that builds 1 in 9 car in the world. I can tell you that in terms of procurement and buying power, these are one of the biggest alliances that purchase things in the world. So some of our partners are just interested to be partner of the team because they love Formula One, they use hospitality, but they also want to do business with our car group as well. And often it works very well. So that's the kind of thing we provide. We do factory visits as well. So you get to invite, your customers, your teammates to the factory, gets a nice experience to see how we build a Formula One car, and then have like a meeting in the afternoon to do business. We do marketing appearances, so bringing, let's bring a driver to your event as well, and have customers that are fan of Formula One they get a chance to meet Esteban Ocon or Fernando Alonso and have a chat with them, or to chat with our team principal or chief engineer to talk about like how your company is actually helping the car to be faster, and how your company is helping Alpine to be faster and produce faster car on F1 racetrack. And you have like your first customer, Alpine, your partner, who's telling like, our Formula One car is winning racing thanks to the help of X company in front of your future customer. How good is that? So these are like the things that we that we provide to sponsors and partners.
Yeah. I think it's encouraging to businesses too, because we've done corporate events. I have in my career, I've done, national sales meetings. You have company meetings where you fly everybody in, and you have a week of time together. And I think, as a salesperson in my career, even as a business owner, you struggle to find like, well, who do we bring? You know, they
Mhm.
engage me all the time, or, you know, they engage a leader in the business all the time. But when you have somebody come in, you know, like a Navy SEAL or like Fernando Alonso, or, you know, or the team
Yeah.
principal, or a chief engineer, these are people that are operating at the highest levels of, you know, business and engineering and performance. And, you know, when you see that, your team can almost find an extra gear, you know. And so I think not just from a, like a, here's what our contribution is to a partner, but here's something that we can extract to our team to get them to shift into a new gear and go faster, you know, because it's like, I have that in me, you know, I can actually do that. I'm watching this happen here, because if you know, if you sat down with a driver and understood what they had to do to get to that point, you're just like,
Mhm.
okay, I have
Yeah,
nothing to
exactly.
complain about. Okay, all right, they've sacrificed their entire childhood to arrive here, and, you know, and now they're busy 100 hours a week preparing for every race. So I totally get that. I think it's really, really, really valuable. So you also run esports for Alpine as well, right?
Yeah, that's another side of what we do. So, as a Formula One team and as part of your participation into the F1 World Championship, you need to participate as well to the F1 Esports Series. So, it's basically 10 Formula One teams competing in the virtual world. So, that we hire, scout the best sim racer in the world. So, the fastest people in the world on the simulators are driving for us, and they have a full-time job. They drive, 6 to 8 hours a day, practicing, train like real athletes. And that's a very interesting categories for F1 teams, because we see this as first a way to bring also value to the younger fans that love F1, but also love practicing F1 in their simulator on the controller on their PS4 or PS5 or Xbox, and that's something they can relate to, because they can see all these young talents get to be working for a Formula One team as an esport driver, and so that's another part of it. We also participate in other like racing competitions, such as like the virtual Le Mans series. So it's endurance racing, same kind of things, but you need to have at least one real driver in your team. So it's a mix of sim racer and real drivers. And we did the 24-hour Le Mans virtual in January last year, and we were supposed to have Fernando Alonso with us in our team. So, and he was like, on the 26th of December, just after Christmas, like it was like 10 p.m. in the evening. He connected on the Discord and said, "Guys, like I'm practicing. Could you join?" And he was on the simulator on his time off, like, or like training and training and training for it. He couldn't join in the end, like because of medical things. But in the competition, Max Verstappen was racing as well. And
Yeah,
so as Alex Palou from IndyCar,
yeah,
and so you have like a mix of like drivers that love to do sim racing as well, and so that's a very serious kind of theme. We also use it from a business standpoint as well, to bring also sponsors that's less money to get part of in Formula One, but still want to be associated with like motorsports, and be joining the team, and so that their new assets, their simulators, then like we can provide for your events. And if you have a big conference or business event, for instance, and you have two simulators on your stands, like of course people are going to come and play on the simulators, and then you can exchange business cards and talk about business and what you do in your technology. But we provide these kind of things for our sponsors, and some of them, they did like gaming events. They had like a Formula One show car, three simulators, and they ended up being like the most popular stand in the whole gaming events, because they were like 2 hours queues just to come and jump in the simulators. And they, it turns out they quadruple their like sales on that day. So this is the kind of like things that we do and provide, and it's really interesting to match the virtual world and the real world of racing, because you can be good on FIFA, for instance, and really not very good at football or soccer, but in a racing simulator, like you're doing the same movements, you're working on the same strategies, you're building the same exactly same movement, same braking power and than you would in a real car. And it's getting so realistic. Then we put one of our driver in a real Formula One car like recently. And he's been telling us like it's absolutely the same thing, like apart from the G-forces and the fear of dying, but it's the same thing. It's really the same thing. He said the brake was like very much the same thing, and the car was very easy to drive. Like, so it's very like important feedback for us, but it's also a way of identifying new talents as well. So and target this audience. Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. Do you guys, and you guys, I mean, as Alpine and just esports in general, do you see this as the next iteration of driver academy for the talented drivers that don't have the resources to go out and spend $1 million a year to try to get into Formula One?
This is a very important part, yes, because we are in a sport like that, so expensive motorsport. You're burning fuel, tires, brakes. You're basically damaging a car. How much does like a car cost already? Like, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
So just like learning to go to different race every year, even on karting, it would cost you $500,000. Like, so, and it's just burning money. And so just to it would allow teams to have like a fair, and the sport to be more fair for like people to access. And so having an entry point so sim racing, it would be fantastic for the sport. So this is what we're trying to build. It's getting more and more realistic. Mm-hmm. The day we mindset will change in Formula One, and the day technology will allow to do so, of course you will have like esports drivers coming into F1. We already seeing it on F3 and F2. Right. There are drivers that started by the F1 Sports Series, and now they are driving in F2. So they're not far from F1. We have also the reverse side of things. Jarno Opmeer, the world champion of F1 Esports, is a former F3 driver and F4 driver, and used to be in the Renault Sport Academy. So, and he moved from driving in the real life to drive in the simulator, and it's probably making way more money now just by being a content creator and sport driver.
So to all
it goes both ways, yeah.
Exactly. So to all you parents out there freaking out about your kids spending too much time playing video games, there is an actual career associated with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get them a simulator though.
I love it. So now you've also mentioned the component of technology in your business. So blockchain, NFTs, Web3. How does this apply to Formula One? Like, where does this all fit?
Well, we're all fans of Formula One, fan of like technology, because F1 is all about technology. It's a man or a woman and a machine, like,
yeah. And
technology is incremental to it. So blockchain is really like a beautiful technology, because you by using and building on it, deleting third parties involvement, so through that technology. So there's multiple ways we can use it. The first one is the one that we can use at the moment is community building and fan engagement. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing we do. We launch a partnership with Binance. I think it's Binance US in your side of the world, but just Binance in the other part. They have like 80% market share on all exchange of cryptocurrencies, and they wanted to partner with us. And so with them we created like our fan token, And fan token is basically a cryptocurrency that you purchase, but that gives you additional rights as a fan. So if I'm purchasing one fan token, I can keep it, and it gives me one vote. It's like a share of a company. It gives me one vote on topics for the team. So I can choose, like, for instance, the design of the helmet of a driver, or I can choose between multiple options for the team kits of the team next year. I can choose, like, what kind of behind the scenes content I want. So by purchasing these tokens, I have a vote, and I can interact with the team and share how I feel. And these goes, yeah.
So stop there. So you're saying that through this blockchain cryptocurrency, you're buying the ability to say, this is what I want the actual team's suits to look like.
Yeah, so the topics like this, the topics more related to esports. So this is how I want the design of that car to look like, and I have like 4 options, but I can vote for the one I prefer, you know. And so that's and if one day I feel like I don't want to do that anymore, I can sell my shares. And it's got the same way as stock market. For instance, you can buy the fan tokens at a very low price and sell it at a very high price. You're making money, but you have fun along the way. So that's the thing that we do. Insanely, like it's a 40 million market cap business. So we have actually like 40 million like investment from fans to interact with the team. And so all of this is provided like through blockchain technology. So these are like the first thing we do. We do also like NFTs. So fans could, we had an issue at first where our graphic designer do posters for every race. And we wanted to give the fan, because many fans ask us like, how can I get the posters? How can I get the posters, in my room and so on? But I want them quick because I want to have them like at the right time of the GP. Right. And we the ability to produce that in the right time was impossible to ship all of these and so on. And so we decided to do like NFTs. Like NFTs is basically you can have your poster in a digital environment, own it, and if you want to resell it after, maybe, and so we did NFTs of these posters of the 5 Grand Prix of last year that had the most success. So we had Hungary where Esteban won the Grand Prix. We had a poster of the US Austin Grand Prix because it was like the biggest attendance in a Formula 1 race ever with 400,000 people. We had like, I think we have Qatar as well where Fernando like did a podium. And so we try and the fans bought it, and there were like 15,000 posters available that you could buy for $15 or something like this worth of the fan token. So you had to purchase the fan token and then purchase the NFT with like your fan token. And so the fans bought it, and within 3 hours it was sold out. And so if you had like the posters of all the Grand Prix, you had a chance to meet Fernando Alonso online and ask him your questions. How cool is that? Yeah. And so all of this all over the world, so through internet.
I gotta say, I'm thoroughly impressed by just the marketing innovation that you all have to engage the community and get them kind of, I don't know, bought in per se. I mean, to buy tokens and engage and say like, this is what I want the suit to look like, or this is what I want our esports livery to look like, or I want fan posters, or whatever. It's just groundbreaking in terms of thinking outside of the box, because I don't see, and maybe it's because I'm not connected enough, but I don't see that anywhere else. I think it's ahead of its time, and I think it's amazing. Fans are craving content, so that's
and they can own that content in the end to like these NFTs, and they can they don't want it, they can resell it, and there will be someone to purchase it, or they can decide to make money with it by being clever on when to buy and when to sell. So these are the things we do. We also do like free, NFTs that you can get. So we did this championship on Esports, where everybody could qualify on the game as to Corsa competition. And so everybody could qualify and drive like this GT4 car Alpine. And if you are one of the 30 fastest, you get to do the championship with us. And it was broadcasted on Binance Live, Twitch, YouTube. And through this, if you win the competition, you get to drive the real car on the real track. So we reached the thing between virtual world and real world. On top of this, you get like cryptocurrencies to win. So there was a cash prize of $100,000 worth of like our fan token as well. So we reuse like, the market cap of this token to then reinvest in the fans. And so throughout the competition, even if you can't like participate because you're not fast enough like me on the simulator and you just like have fun, you can watch the different races at different time of the year, and you will have a QR code that will pop up. And if you scan the QR code, you get like one part of one car. And if you watch the whole things, you can assemble a full-on NFT that will give you a car that you can drive in the game.
So let me tell you about the power of that, and just in terms of global scale. So my son has a sim off these TVs, and we stay up late. So after my wife and daughter go to bed, like we'll stay up and hang out and whatnot. And occasionally we'll get out and we'll do like, Spa and Senna's McLaren, and we'll be like, okay, who can get the fastest lap out of 5 laps, and we'll have these little competitions or whatever. And we go back and forth all the time because he's like, Dad, you can't drive with the assists. And I'm like, it's funner. Okay. Like I don't have to think as much. I can just have fun. And, and I don't carve out a decent lap and then spin it out in the last turn, accelerating. And he's like, okay, so Dad, he goes, if you ever get the chance to drive a real Formula One car, don't you want to be equipped to be able to enjoy it? Because it doesn't have all those assists that, that the video game provides. And, I was like, okay, I hear you. Maybe a month later, one of my followers sent me a message with I think it was Alpine. It was a contest to sign up and win a chance to go to Silverstone or something and drive the car, or somewhere to one of your tracks and drive it. And immediately I was like, okay, I remember this. If I win this competition or contest or whatever it is, I will actually be able to get it around the track without destroying the car in the process. And, or at least not embarrass myself by not being able to get it out of first gear. So I think that level of engagement is really powerful in what you do, because it gets people thinking bigger and engaging deeper. And we're here stateside. We're on the other side of the world in terms of fan base. So it's really
this is what we're trying to do, open up the competition, because it's very European, like F1. There are 7 teams like based in the UK within like few miles. Like that's what we call the Formula One Valley. And if you want to work in F1, like it's very difficult to do when you live in the US, for instance. So you would have like, you can work for the racetrack, you can work for agencies that do like the different Grand Prix or promoters, but it's very difficult to be part of one team from the US, unless you move to the UK. And I think there should be more and more of F1 in the US, because that's such a great market. There's such great fans as well. And so I'm very looking forward to Las Vegas. Miami this year was amazing as well. So it's really good to see.
For all you potential sponsors out there, Formula One is the fastest growing social engagement platform in the world. This is on top of Major League Baseball, the NFL, hockey, basketball, other types of motorsport, it is actually the most engaged sport globally. Meaning, if you partner with Alpine and you allow them to engage and promote on social media, the likelihood of growth digitally is much higher than anyone else. It's phenomenal. But do you get the chance to go to races?
Yeah, I do run like 4 to 5 races a year. Because you know, when you travel, you don't walk at the same pace as when you're at home. At least that's how it was for me. But yeah, I do 4 to 5 race per year. Yeah, it's incredible. We've seen like a massive change in Formula One. There's 300 people waiting in front of your hotel all day to get to see a driver or your team principal. So, and they are majorly people under 30 years old. Like say, it's really refreshing to see because the sport has not always been like that before. So it's really, really cool to see.
That is actually my next topic. So you've been with Alpine through the rebranding that just took place from Renault to Alpine. Like, how has your role changed as a result of that? Because it was more strategic, right? It was more, Alpine is more of our performance division, which there's more brand synergy behind performance in Formula One versus a road car or Renault. How culturally have things evolved?
So things have changed quite a lot, because we used to be Renault F1 team, and Renault F1 team was not directly attached to Renault. Renault was like, using the Formula One to promote, the brand in Europe. Renault is not commercialized in the US as well. And you have to believe that Renault is like a kind of like, not, it was middle segment kind of cars. So, cars that's, worth like 30 to $40,000 new. So it's kind of, in the middle of like the market. It's not entry market brand, but, and it has like a huge history in F1. They built engine for Red Bull before. They've been like five-time world champion with Red Bull, 2 times world champion as a team. So that's an historical team with a bigger heritage. And then Renault Group wanted to push their more premium brand, more sportive brand. We're competing against brand like Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren. And we're selling like middle entry range car. That doesn't make sense. So we decided to push Alpine brand, which is like European centric brand at the moment, to very aggressively develop it to be like a worldwide like EV sport car. And so that change in marketing was like, okay, we have this new brand. We want to sell these very sportive electric cars in the world and tap into new markets. What the best way, what the best way is to use Formula One as your central marketing platform. And so that's how we changed the name from Renault to Alpine. And Alpine is a business unit within Group Renault that has, endurance racing, car production, F1, Esports, and all of these are under the same business unit. And so we work together with the car company. We work together with the endurance team. We work together in, using engineers to help us on esports. And we all have the same goal, which is to have, this brand Alpine to shine all over the world. And we want to move from selling 4,000 cars this year to in 2 years selling 50,000 cars. So we want to be like a bit, if you want to picture what Alpine is, it's the Tesla of Europe with big motorsport history and engagement. Tesla is not in motorsport at the moment. Us, we're passionate about racing. We're passionate about aggressive designs. We're passionate about like driving very fast on track, but we want to build sustainable cars as well. and that's what we want to do. So if you want to picture us, like this is who we are. Yeah.
I love, so as a business person, I love when companies actually think about brand synergy and you know, how does all of that align with what we're, you know, doing and saying. And I think that that's something that I've been impressed with Alpine and Renault to really take a deep look and say, like, what is the heritage, what is the marketing, what is the messaging, and then are we delivering and executing on what we're saying? And I think, you know, the answer is yes. I think what, you know, Surreal set out to do, if that's how you pronounce his name, is the rubbers hit the road. You know, it's performing at a very high level and competing with the likes of McLaren, and you know, it's fascinating. So being in Formula One, you know, every fan is like, you know, what was your pinch me moment? Like, at what point did you walk in and be like, where am I? What just happened? I can't believe I'm sitting here right now.
There have been multiple moments when I started to work in F1 and build like all these amazing proposals for sponsors. You know, I started to say, wow, it's the first time in my life I'm working and not looking at the clock.
Yeah.
So you're like, you wake up and like, oh, it's already like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Like, I need to finish all of that. I love what I'm doing. So, and at the time I was going to work riding a motorbike. And I feel like moments where you're riding the bike back from work and you're starting dancing on the bike, like just because you were so happy about what you're doing. The second moment was the first time I entered the paddock and got into to see like the Formula One garage. I mean, there's something magic in there that comes and you're like, wow. And and I'd say like the third time is you know, it's around the factory when you realize it's not just, you know, putting fast cars and racing cars. You see the amazing technology that is behind, and you're like, okay, this has a purpose. It's not just to, you know, race cars, have fun, and you know, people to have fun in front of their TV. There's like, we're driving innovation that will change the life of people forever, and that's what I love about the sport, and the technology that goes behind. You're like, this is madness. So I'm still learning things now, and there's probably like 90% of it that I don't know, because it's so like, it's so specific. It's just amazing. So yeah, that's a sport that can surprise you all the time.
It's incredible. I think the first time that I got in front of a Formula One car, I was I was both terrified and mesmerized, I think, at the concept or the probability of sitting in that thing, because of all of the aerodynamic elements. You know, it's one thing to watch it and have somebody, you know, break a floorboard or crack something off and they're like, you know, whatever. But like when you're actually in front of it and there's like 50 aerodynamic elements sitting within like 5 millimeters of the concrete, you're just like, wow. And all of that stuff matters so much. You know, it takes the concept of what that machine really is, and the work and the engineering and the innovation that goes into that, you know, which then gets transferred to road cars. You know, it's a testing ground for you or I in the real world. I love it.
It's insane, you know, when you start thinking about like anything that goes behind the line. You know, we're using CT scan machines to to scan the inside of parts of every part of the car. So if you have a crash, every part will go through that, you know, same thing that you would go if you go to the hospital after, you know, breaking, you know, your arm or something. You go to CT scan and they scan your arm. It's the same way goes to the Formula One team, and we have like an inspection department 24 hours on 24 hours that inspect every millimeter of every part of the car to make sure that the car that you see on the screen don't lose a tenth of a second a lap because something is failing. And you all of these things, you don't see them. Like there was something about like Saudi Grand Prix last year. Esteban lost, the third place for the podium, and in the last straight to Valtteri Bottas, who was driving in the Mercedes. The reason behind that is that there was a hole the size of your TV on the floor of the car.
Oh.
It wasn't Esteban driving slowly. It was, and so all of these things, like you don't see them, and you don't see them happening. You don't see the physics, the damage that the just racing a car on race side do. But the behind of the scenes of the behind of the scenes of it is like just insane. You won't have it in any other sports, and that's what make F1 unique.
What didn't you expect when you entered this or you entered the paddock? Like what shocked you?
Well, the first thing that shocks you when you enter in the paddock is like how like you see the journalists that you watch on TV. They're normal people. Drivers, people that you've been following on TV, they're there, like, and they know each other. They're normal people, and they're having their job. Everybody has its job to do, and I think the technological part of F1 is the most impressive for me now. It's how much technology goes behind the scenes, and how intelligent are the people that work in F1 to be able to develop it. With 3D printing, so the parts that are in the car, and it's just some of the things that goes behind the scenes are just insane. And so that was the thing that surprised me most. So it's the best driver in the planet in the best machines ever. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, so if you have fans globally anywhere, and they want to get into the business end of Formula One, what advice do you have them? Like, if I know I've listened to you before and during this recording, and you obviously have a passion for this, and you're successful in your role, and I can feel that. What advice would you have for somebody if you could help somebody listening to this, follow their passion into this world? What would you say to them?
I'd say, like, and it goes the same way with every passion in the world. Don't focus on the main brands that are in there. Don't focus just on the team, the F1. If you can't make it to a team and to F1 right now, there's plenty of other companies that gravitate around F1. So whether you work for a partner of a Formula One team, a partner of an event, a race promoter, an event agency that would work towards Formula One, a marketing agency that is involved in Formula One. It's insane the number of companies that gravitate around there. You have like 500,000 people attending a race weekend. There's so many people working there at the time. And so if you want to step foot into F1, reach out not only to the main companies, teams, and the championship, but do your research and reach out to the companies that are actually also struggling to hire the best people because of the lack of exposure they get. But you would be in the paddock, you would be in a paddock club, you would be on a race event, and you would perhaps start working with people in F1 and get a door open to you. So basically, do your research and try to not only target F1 teams or the F1 organization itself, but all the companies that gravitate around that. And it works the same for music. It works the same for every passion that you can have. Just target. Just not only focus on what's visible and hundreds of thousands of people would target.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you said it best: investing in yourself, even if that means working for free. And I'm not a big proponent of going out and spending years working for free, but invest in yourself. We're sitting here having this conversation because I just started writing about my passion and garnering a following, and it's created all these moving parts all over the place that I had never expected. And and it's the same as you. You invested in it, you went to races, you worked at races, you volunteered your time, in exchange for an investment in yourself and your future, and it's paid dividends. I it's awesome.
And you learn as well. It's not just like go to an event and hold boxes. You're learning things, and that's will serve you for the rest of your life.
So how do people find you and what you do? Like how do listeners kind of engage you and your brand?
You can start following the team on social media. That's the first thing I would tell you. Follow what we do. LinkedIn, social media are good to follow what we do in general. If you love cryptocurrencies, just please have a look to our fan token, and that might give you ideas of your business as well. Try to follow team members on LinkedIn as well. They share a lot of things about the team, and follow the brand, because there will be insane things coming up. So that would be quite interesting. Yeah.
We're excited for that. How can the world of motorsports help you?
Say again?
How can the world how can the audience or the world of motorsports help you guys do what you do, above following or liking or sharing posts that you have?
I think it's just by watching Formula One, you're helping us. It's by engaging with your friends about F1 and trying to learn about the technology behind it. I think that's helping. It's not we're far from just being like race cars doing laps around the circuit. There's way more to it, and that's what we all love. So that's I don't think we're well placed to ask help from the fans. I think it's our responsibility to bring a lot to people. That sometimes people have difficult lives as well, and get like a lot of comfort in and hope in watching races and seeing this young driver being successful. I think it's our role instead of like motorsport fan to bring something to us. I think it's us that needs to bring something to the fans by having more women in engineering, more women in the the pit wall, more diversity involved in the sport, making it F1 more accessible, because it's not just a sport for 15 years old men lying on their couch while watching the race. It has to be something that brings hope, diversity, role models as well. It's really important. So one of our projects is to bring more diversity into sports, and we're having like a big change in the last 2 years. There's a lot of like female engineers like joining the team, and they're all passionate about the sport. And seeing more people like yourself, like just seeing someone like Lewis Hamilton performing at the top of F1, and being coming from like a different background that other like drivers is a hope for a lot of people in the world to be able to succeed. So it's more us that need to bring something to the fans, and that's what we're working on.
I'm really glad that you said that. Okay, so like that is always my goal is having guests come on and showcasing that whether you don't come from wealth, if you don't come from resources, if you're man, woman, minority, whatever it is, that when you follow your passions, and I don't mean your interests, but your passions, you can achieve so much. And I think that you're a testament of that. And it's been really great to find people within Formula One that have supported this podcast and come on and said like, I engage social media, or like, here's my story, because it's a story that we can all relate to. It's a story that, is achievable by, if I'm passionate about soccer or football, I am able to as Steve Jobs once said, and I think it was a Harvard or Stanford presentation that he had given, like if you're really passionate about something and you put your finger on it and you just do something, like you can actually move the world. And I think that, you know, you're a great example of that. And man, Guillaume, thank you for coming on here. Like, such an awesome conversation, such a pillar of hope for young people that want to, you know, chase their dreams or chase a career in Formula One. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite, Ryan. We don't get, you know, always the time to talk about what we do, and sharing this. You know, the more we share, the more we help people big. That's the plan. So happy to be here and happy to chat here.
Man, Fernando wouldn't be on the grid if it wasn't for people like you. And I think that's, you know, you're the type of people that I focus on getting on here, is because I really truly think that it's people in your roles and engineering and, you know, hospitality and sponsorships that just drive the thing that we're passionate about. That car wins races because of people like you. So keep it up.
Yeah, there are bigger brains also behind the team. This is people way far more intelligent than me that do this. But thank you.
Thank you very much for being on here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.